Viewers' discretion is advised. Story 1.
It was a cold winter night, and I found myself driving through the canyon, a route I had traversed countless times before. My car's radio was blaring music, an attempt to ward off the eerie silence that often enveloped the canyon. I kept my speed in check due to the slippery road conditions and the numerous twists and turns on the way. Then, at a straight stretch of road, something chilling occurred. Emerging from the inky darkness, a man stood on the road's center, his thumb raised in a classic hitchhiking gesture. My heart leapt into my throat and I swerved violently to avoid hitting the unexpected figure. Fear coursed through me as I drove past him, wondering, what on earth was that man doing in the middle of this desolate canyon at this hour? The idea of turning back to check on him crossed my mind briefly, but I remembered that there were cabins nearby where he could seek shelter for the night. I continued driving, leaving the canyon behind as I entered the valley. My radio had been keeping me company, but suddenly it fell silent. I found this odd but shrugged it off and turned the radio back on. Then, as I glanced at the rear-view mirror above me, a gasp escaped my lips. A man was sitting in the back seat of my car. Panic surged through me as I fumbled to turn on the car's interior lights, but they remained stubbornly dim. The stranger spoke calmly. "Drop me off at the nearest town." Shaking uncontrollably, I nodded in agreement, attempting to check my phone for help, only to find it unresponsive. For the next 20 kilometers, the man sat in eerie silence behind me, and the unsettling feeling in the car refused to dissipate. Finally, we arrived at the town the hitchhiker had mentioned, but when I turned to speak to him, the man had vanished into thin air. He left no trace of ever having been there. I stepped on the gas and sped away, my heart pounding. An hour later, I reached the safety of my hometown, where I recounted the chilling experience to my family. My father, who had heard similar stories, shared that I wasn't the first to encounter this enigmatic hitchhiker. Others in the area had experienced similar unnerving events. The hitchhiker, it seemed, was a recurring figure in the local lore, a spectral presence that haunted the canyon. The origins of the hitchhiker remain shrouded in mystery. Some speculated that he was a man who met a tragic end in the frigid canyon, freezing to death while seeking help from passing vehicles. Now, his restless spirit lingered, forever stranded in that desolate stretch of road. Yet the story took a different twist for those who chose to stop and offer the hitchhiker a ride. For them, the man was not an omen of terror, but a friendly, talkative presence with a pleasant aura. But as the car approached the small town, he would vanish without a trace, leaving passengers with a lingering sense of bewilderment and the haunting knowledge that they had encountered something beyond explanation.
Story 2.
Never drive this New Mexico highway at night, they told me. It was a warning I brushed off as superstition, a mere shadow in the vast landscape of my road trip adventure. Little did I know that this stretch of US Route 491 would become a haunting memory that still sends shivers down my spine. I began my journey with excitement, leaving behind the comforts of San Antonio, Texas, for the unknown terrain leading to Tacoma, Washington. With 6 days to report to my new Army unit, I reveled in the freedom of the open road. But the first hint of dread crept over me as the sun dipped below the horizon, leaving me to navigate the desolate New Mexico highway in the pitch-black night. New Mexico's enchanting landscape had fascinated me during daylight hours, but as the darkness descended, it transformed into an eerie abyss. The endless expanse of prairie was swallowed by looming indigo mountains, casting long, sinister shadows across the highway. I had hoped for the occasional companionship of passing headlights, but solitude enveloped me. It was then that I spotted the first figure, a lone traveler walking on the highway's shoulder. The moonlight offered a faint glimpse of a poncho-clad man with long, disheveled hair. Who would venture out here miles from civilization, alone in the dead of night? I thought little of it at first, assuming he might be a lost soul, perhaps under the influence of alcohol. But as I drew closer, An unnerving sensation gripped me. His eyes, impossibly wide, seemed to pierce through the darkness, tracking my every movement as if he could see into my soul. I swerved away, dismissing it as a trick of the mind, and my car's stereo abruptly fell silent, plunging me into a chilling silence. Just as I regained my composure, the man raised his arm, as if beckoning for a ride. Panic coursed through me, and I sped past, my music silenced and my phone disconnected from Bluetooth. It was as though the very fabric of reality had been disrupted, but that was only the beginning. Inexplicably, the man reappeared further down the road, the same wide-eyed, eerie stare fixed upon me. His appearance had deteriorated, his clothes now tattered rags, his hair matted with dirt. The terror intensified as he lunged onto the road, arms flailing wildly. I swerved desperately to avoid him, my heart racing and my stereo falling eerily silent once again. When I glanced into the rearview mirror, he had vanished, leaving me to grapple with the unsettling uncertainty of his presence. What happened to him? Where did he go? The questions gnawed at my sanity as I pressed on, desperate to reach the safety of the nearest town, Cortez. But the horrors were far from over. Another figure emerged on the desolate highway, another poncho-clad silhouette with long, dark hair. It was the same man, impossible as it seemed. He raised his arm again, but this time he leaped onto the road, chasing after me with unnatural speed. My car's engine roared as I pushed it to the limits, racing away from the relentless pursuer. But he kept pace, his wide, unblinking eyes locked onto mine. Panic seized me and I couldn't comprehend how anyone could match the speed of my vehicle. As the temperature gauge in my car approached the red zone and the tachometer screamed in protest, I realized the futility of my escape. The engine was reaching its limit and I was on the brink of exhaustion. The creature remained undeterred, its eerie pursuit showing no signs of relenting. Desperation overwhelmed me as I hurtled toward the distant lights of Shiprock, my only beacon of hope. I prayed that safety awaited me in that small town. The creature, with its unnaturally long limbs and trailing black hair, clung to my nightmare journey. But as Shiprock's lights drew nearer, the creature began to fade, slipping away into the darkness. Relief washed over me, and I finally allowed myself to breathe. My stereo returned to life, and I passed into the town's welcoming embrace. A week later, a fellow soldier shared tales of Native American legends, cautioning me about the highway's haunted history. A chilling realization struck me as I discovered the highway's former name and its connection to the paranormal. Route 491 was a place of unexplained phenomena, and I had narrowly escaped its clutches. Never drive this New Mexico highway at night, they warned. The chilling encounter on that desolate road had left an indelible mark, a tale I now share as a warning to those who dare to venture into the darkness of Route 491. Be cautious, for the land of enchantment conceals secrets that defy explanation.
Story 3.
It was a dark and stormy night, with the rain pouring down heavily, engulfing the whole country in a fierce tempest. After spending a delightful evening with my friends, I decided it was time to head back home. The road ahead was long and intricate, but as someone accustomed to driving at night, I wasn't too worried. The rain was relentless and visibility on the road was almost non-existent. I struggled to focus on the path ahead, illuminated only by the headlights of passing cars. The storm intensified, and with each surge of rain, my fear grew. Suddenly, I lost sight of the road in front of me. My heart flipped with fear and anxiety. My eyes strained to grasp any detail of the road, but all I could see were raindrops and never-ending darkness. In a moment of mystery, the car's lights flickered out, plunging me into complete darkness. The car had come to a complete halt in the midst of the relentless storm. I desperately tried to restart the engine, but it refused to comply. Panic began to consume me, and I didn't know what to do. The clock struck midnight, and I found myself all alone in the midst of this terrifying storm. I waited for what seemed like an eternity, hoping that someone would pass by and offer help, but no one appeared. I didn't have a mobile phone to call for assistance. Deciding to seek shelter from the storm and wait until sunrise, I began to walk on foot in the pitch-black darkness. The sounds of the rain intensified, adding to my fear. I felt like I wasn't alone on this dark night. As I searched for a place to take refuge, I noticed an old, dilapidated building near the road. Its eerie silhouette seemed to beckon me, promising safety from the torment outside. I cautiously approached it, and upon reaching its ancient, creaking door, I decided to enter and find a safe haven. Once inside, complete darkness surrounded me. My hands trembled with fear and cold. I hugged myself tightly, trying to overcome the terror that was creeping inside me. But as I surveyed my surroundings, I discovered that I was not alone. Strange and unsettling noises echoed around me, unfamiliar sounds that sent chills down my spine. Whispers, soft and menacing, brushed against my ears like ghostly fingers. Shadows danced in the corners of the room, moving with a malevolent intent. I couldn't comprehend what these sounds were, but they had a dreadful impact on my nerves. The sounds grew louder and clearer, as if they were getting closer to me.
Support the channel. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel.